Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today, it's a Monday, so we're back in Rafafofo Geography, and today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where Britain and France go to war. So I know, this is gonna be a really different scenario from what we do always, but we're just gonna have to see how this happens in the modern day. I'm just putting Britain as red because the flag's more red, and France is blue because the flag is more blue, and the soccer players. That does not necessarily mean that the UK declared war on France, and this video is different because the UK and France are ranked really similarly in the global firepower rank. Actually, they say that the UK is stronger than France, which I disagree. I think they're both the same. So we're gonna be taking a look at two scenarios. Scenario 1 where Britain wins, and scenario 2 where France wins. So without further ado, let's get into this. France and the UK at war, and the UK, the first thing they try to do is get some allies to carve up France because they're like, France doesn't need to exist. So the first ally they call up is Italy. They're like, Italy, we promise you Corsica if you join this war. And Italy's like, okay, sure. And the second ally they're gonna call up is Spain. They're like, hey Spain, I know you're not that stable inside, but if you get more territory, maybe you can like get greater autonomy and not immediately annex it into your territory, and like it's gonna be better. And then Spain's like, okay, sure. I was gonna ask Switzerland, but I mean, Switzerland has just broken their neutrality over 200 years because Hamas invaded Israel and because Russia invaded Ukraine. So that could be a reason to call up Switzerland, but Switzerland would never be in the aggressor team. They would never just like invade. So Switzerland would not be a good idea. And the next one would be Germany, because they promise Alsace-Lorraine back to Germany. They're like, yeah, Germany, this place speaks French, and this place speaks German too, and there's Strasbourg inside, or Strasbourg. I speak both languages, guys. Let me show you. In purple are all the countries' languages that I speak. And you might think I'm kidding, but I do actually speak 6 languages. I'm gonna explain to you everything. So I actually live here in Geneva, Switzerland, and in Switzerland there are 3 official languages, and this Geneva area, as you can see, it's really close to France, and like all of this in Switzerland speaks French. Like this speaks Italian, and literally the rest speaks German, as well as like this. Ooh, this is a really pretty map. But in the area where I live, you need to also learn either Italian or German. So I decided to learn German because Italian would be too easy because I speak literally so many other Romance languages. And like, I speak Portuguese because I was born over here in Brazil. And I learned Spanish because it's so close to Portuguese. So literally, yeah. In the area where I live, I showed you, we speak French, and I learned German. So I speak German, and I speak English because it's like a moral baseline to speak English. And I'm Jewish, so I went to a Jewish school and learned Hebrew. Yeah, let's get back into this scenario. And so the last ally the UK are going to be invoking here is the Netherlands. They're like, the Netherlands, we've heard you, and we know you guys want your Dutch-speaking parts of Belgium back. They don't, but they're like, you know, just pushing them a little bit, you know. So you could invade Belgium and maybe Luxembourg and also some other French-speaking parts, so you can officially be a bilingual country. And they're like, oh heck yeah. So here are the countries, and then some French allies. The UK also said we need to remove some useless countries like Andorra. They're just there in the mountains for no reason, and they're not talking about Luxembourg and Monaco because Monaco is a place to store the rich people. I've been there, I know how it is. But like, and Luxembourg as well, but it's like a big country, and it's like, so they just like, we need to abolish Andorra. And so they declare war. All these red countries declare war on France, on Andorra, on Belgium, and on Luxembourg. They just say, okay, it's better if we incorporate Luxembourg into like Germany or something. We don't want like a major Germany, but like we can split it between the Netherlands and Germany, you know. Take a look at this scenario. Almost immediately, France calls Ireland in. They're like, Ireland, I know you want Northern Ireland back, so come in. And all the troops from Northern Ireland just fled to go help the UK, right? So Northern Ireland is left unprotected, and Irish troops start invading Northern Ireland because they want to blow the UK up. That's just, no, they just want Northern Ireland back. I do think it looks pretty. It looks like Ireland's wearing like a monocle, but everyone's like, oh, it's so ugly. And I'm like, okay, sure. Let me place the capitals, you guys. And Northern Ireland is split into two, an Irish and a British Northern Ireland, because some troops are still there. So the UK orders many troops from Isle of Man to just go and start defending, and it starts to look like there's gonna be a stalemate. Something like this happens. You look like an Among Us character, Ireland. So immediately, German troops are like, heck yeah, we're going back. Last time we did this Blitzkrieg thing was with the Soviet Union in 1944, but now we're back and we're gonna make it, and we can't do it too bad because we can't kill too many French people because people are gonna sanction us, so let's go. So really slowly, German troops start pushing into Alsace-Lorraine, and then France is like, oh heck no. France is getting some PTSD, and Germany's making some surroundings, and some grandpas are teaching some younglings how to fight. Grandpas are going back to their military ages. Oh my god. They also use this tactic on little old Luxembourg. They're like, Luxembourg, we're gonna surround your capital over here, and until they've got the entire capital, the entire country except for the capital, and then the capital surrenders. So Luxembourg's already done for. Next is Andorra. Spain's like, this is gonna be a piece of cake, and then they just go in, they say hi to Andorra la Vella, and they capture it, and they capture the rest of the country, and Andorra surrenders. Next, Italy is like, okay, let's go Corsica, you're ours, because the UK promised them Corsica. Why is there like a connection between them? I take like 2 hours to go by boat between Sardinia and Corsica, so what the heck. But troops from Sardinia and from Western Italy land in eastern and southern Corsica, capturing the main capital, and the inside, like the mountainous rural inside, is there left, and it splits into two, and then the Corsican people try to rebel, and then Italy's like, ain't no way, you're ours. So that's how it looks like. But France are like, you know what, the nearest capital to me that I want is London, so we're going to London. France go like, so immediately France launch Operation Londres, and it's just to go there and just invade London, and then bomb a lot across the entire surroundings. So this is how the bombings go, and then yeah, some troops go and try to connect with the areas that have been bombed. I mean, that does not mean that the areas that have been bombed are light blue. They're just bombed, right? And then the Brits are like, heck no, we're the ones that are gonna be crossing the tunnel, not you, France. And so France are protecting the tunnel and pouring in troops into Greater London, and then they start touching the capital, and then London's like, oh heck no, oh no, oh no, achoo! It's like this for a while, it stalemates, and then the UK ask for help over to the US. They're like, hey US, can you please like help us with something, because France is going cray-cray. They've elected a president called Mélenchon, which is crazy, so you're gonna help us. And then the US would be like, you're gonna be sorting your own freaking problems. By the way, Mélenchon is really bad. The US are like, you're gonna solve your own problem, get yourself some other allies, I'm out. The UK is like, oh shoot, okay, we need someone else. If Denmark joined, that wouldn't be good, because Denmark doesn't want anything from this war, and they're gonna want something. So not Denmark. Switzerland is the only country that can join. And then they're like, Switzerland, we just need you to defend me, please just join. And then the people in Switzerland are like, oh heck no. And then some people are like, heck yeah, we need to do this. And then some people are like, no, we can't do this. And then people are like, this is our neutrality, we can't violate it. And then other people are like, come on, we need to move on from this past. And then people are like, no, do it, don't do it, don't do it. At the end, after the UK pays. So the really well-prepared Swiss army, they have been waiting years for doing this. Switzerland has conscriptions for everyone who has the Swiss passport. So like literally everyone has to do it, even though they're neutral. So yeah, Switzerland are ready for this. Some troops are coming through. And then Italy are like, yeah, we need to get that post-World War I borders. And then they surround Monaco. Monaco's like, ooh, another change of borders. Haven't we gotten this 17 times? When Italy was our only border, and now France, and then both, and then Italy, and now France, and now just Italy, yay. Okay, from the northeastern cantons. Switzerland make some better pushes, and then Switzerland like, we can't with war anymore, our people are exhausted. We're gonna just keep this nice front line and we're gonna leave the war. And then they're like, we want to sign a peace treaty with France, like, come on. And then the UK are like, okay, you guys can sign a peace treaty with France. And so France are like, no, we're not gonna sign a peace treaty with Switzerland, we're gonna push them back. What the heck, it's Switzerland. And then they do exactly what the UK wants them to do, and so they push the Swiss back. The Swiss are like, what the heck, UK? And then they try to push the Germans back, but the Germans are just too excited to be back, and they make a way larger push, even helping with the Swiss front. And then the French are like, no one's coming near Paris, so let's just push back. And then the Germans are like, no, and they surround a huge amount of troops, and then these troops surrender to Germany. And then France are like, okay, let's just try to push from the southern part. And then Switzerland and Italy and even Germany do basically this. Then the UK are like, okay, everyone's out of me. The French finally managed to go away and try to defend themselves, so we can defend our little selves, and no one's in Great Britain anymore. And they're like, okay, Ireland, your turn, we're gonna push you back. And then Ireland are like, oh, no. Ireland just try to push, and then the UK are like, who the heck do you think you are? They push them back to how they were before, and then they push Ireland out of Northern Ireland. And now this is gonna be a really controversial scenario because people do not want to be British, they want to be Irish, but what can you do? The colonizers are back, and they're gonna use one of Ireland's newest, greatest weaknesses and cut them off from the northern part. The northern part are like, okay, there's a Northern Ireland, why are we not Northern Ireland either? So they're literally forced to do this. The Irish people are trying to fight them back, but the UK are just too strong for them, and they start to threaten Dublin. And I hope I placed Dublin right, please correct me if I'm wrong. And some troops from Wales make a naval landing over there in the southeast tip, and which means Ireland is surrounded, and they start bombing campaigns all around Ireland to weaken them, especially in military bases. And then they cut this area off, like it splits into two. A lot of troops are dying, and then some troops are flooding into this area, eventually cutting it off from Dublin itself. And then this area surrenders, and then Dublin finally surrenders to the UK. Ireland surrenders as well. I said it was controversial. Close your eyes, Irish people. Now, British troops cross the channel into northern France, while Germans and the Dutch military start crossing into Belgium, eventually capturing northern Brussels and then southern Brussels, and then they start a huge push into the rest of Belgium, and Belgium surrenders. But Belgian troops who still decide to continue fighting in this war come to France. They're like, we need to fight these aggressors for no reason, they're attacking us. And then troops from Spain are like, Catalonians, we appreciate your unity and within us, so we will not force you to fight. And so like troops from Madrid and like other Spanish areas, like I don't know if Zaragoza is part of Galicia or like, I don't know, but some non-Catalan or Galician troops or Basque country troops are fighting because they're like Spanish unity, and like we don't want to force anyone to fight with us. And they capture some major southern cities like Saint-Tropez, Cannes, Antibes, Nice in the Côte d'Azur, eventually capturing the entire Côte d'Azur, southern French coast. And then troops from southern Belgium, Dutch troops from southern Belgium invade deeper into France. And then British troops make a landing here on Normandy, and then they cut Brittany off from the rest of France, and then Brittany surrenders, and they invade the rest of the coast. So France is now fully landlocked. And Swiss troops get to the city of Lyon, which is a great blow to France, and German troops start making a huge push into Berlin, as well as British troops and Dutch troops as well. And these areas are cut off and wiped off the map until Paris, one side of supply, and then everyone's like, okay, we give up. And Paris gets fully surrounded by the Red Powers, and it gets captured. France were like, no, we're gonna stand strong and we're gonna keep fighting for our country. So we may lose this war, but the people that are fighting us are gonna lose as well. No one wins this war except if we surrender. So if we lose, they're gonna lose too. Very patriotic. À nos enfants de la patrie. That's the French anthem, by the way. And the rest of France is just a big blob in the center, and then the rest of France surrender. Let's just take a look at this peace treaty. Okay, guys, this peace treaty is like messed up. The UK annexes all of Ireland, but they do have their own separate counties and like their own separate elections and stuff. And Northern Ireland is still at a different entity from the rest of Ireland, so they're united on map. Plus, the UK also annexes all of this area of France, and Paris is on their doorstep, and they get to control Paris as well. Plus, France are paying some incredible amounts of war reparations to them. This is Spain, España, and they've annexed lands that go beyond the Pyrenees mountain chain, and that's Spain. This is Italia, Italy. They've annexed like literally everything they had before World War One, and they got even more territories. Plus they've got Corsica to themselves, and they just didn't get the parts that surrounded Geneva and Valais Canton because Switzerland is getting something. Oh my gosh, Switzerland does not look Swiss. It takes a while to look at to understand, but now I feel more comfortable seeing this Switzerland. And they're not considered part of the red team anymore because they just left the war in the middle, but they wanted territories, and they just got these little territories because they didn't want to be like rude. Switzerland's so nice, so nice. Germany just got Alsace-Lorraine, and they were okay with not getting more because like people would get scared. That's it with Germany. And the Netherlands just got all of Belgium and Luxembourg, and also some pretty interesting French territories. And let me introduce you to the 6th French Republic. We've got a new French Republic with its capital of Paris on the doorstep of the UK, with a tiny little access to the Atlantic Ocean and a tiny little access to the Med. And they've got Lyon. Maybe they'll switch up their capital to Lyon. And that's the scenario where the UK wins. And let's look back to the way we were before. We're not just gonna do like France declares war on the UK, because it's not necessarily the aggressor that wins all the time. So let's go, yalla! The allies France just link up with are Ireland, mate, Iceland, and they support something called the Scottish Move for Independence. And some other countries they ally up with are India, because they promised India the British Indian Ocean Territory, Argentina, promising them the Falkland Islands, and I was saying Iceland to promise them the Faroe Islands, but now that I think about it, and I said Ireland, promising them the Åland Islands, and I was thinking Iceland, promising them the Faroe Islands, but now I'm thinking Norway. The Scottish Move for Independence does not exist yet, but it's actually got a bit of a startup over here near the Loch Ness area, and it's getting expanded really quickly as the Scots are like, yeah, we need independence and we need to join the EU, and then the British are like, who's supporting these? Who's supplying these? France and the UK aren't at war yet, but they're seeing some really big protests and shootings everywhere, and they're like, I hate aggressivity in my country. And then the Scottish Move for Independence are like, let's get back into the European Union. Let's get back and be the Scotland we've always been. And England and London are like, okay, let's join the European Union so they don't leave. And they're like, oh no, we're leaving anyway. Heck no. So they send huge amounts of troops into northern Scotland to push these away, but then they're like, heck no, and then they push deep into Scotland, and then Scotland are like agreeing with this, and they declare their independence as the Scottish Republic. as this, but then England are like, oh, no, no, no. And then they literally wipe them off, and Scotland aren't happy, and there's a lot of unrest inside of Scotland because they're not happy within the UK. So after a couple years, France are like, okay, let's go again, but this time we've got to be quieter. King Charles III is not supposed to know, and that Indian Prime Minister guy neither. So they manage to like be something like this, and then they push their ideals into Edinburgh, and they get to this extremity, and from here they also get into the western extremity, reaching Hadrian's Wall, and the British military are notified about this, and they're like, okay, we don't declare independence, but we want more autonomy. That's how you lost the USA. Give this autonomy and we'll stop. And so, wait, no, the extremity is like here. Okay, so it looks like this, and the UK is so hard to invade because it's an island, but Scotland have their de facto independence. They're just like, yeah, I would call it like this. Ireland immediately declares war on Britain. They say Northern Ireland is ours, and they capture it fully. They send some naval troops into the British EEZ, and they get themselves clashing with the British Navy, and they land on Isle of Man, sweeping in and island hopping in and out of it. Mate, the Brits aren't really happy with this at all, and they cut the Irish out of them, eventually capturing Isle of Man back. And then France, Norway, Argentina, and India declare war on the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And then the UK are like, okay, well, we're getting what we have back, and then we're gonna invade them, and there's like a 50-50 chance we can win, but we need to try. The Brits think they can do it, so yalla, let's try. They surround Northern Ireland's beaches, and they go in to liberate, and it goes like something like this, and then it stalemates over there because the Irish also want their independence, right? And then another revolt happens. The Scottish move for independence is back, baby, and they are hungry. Let's look at this naval map. Immediately, the Scots also invade the ocean, so that's their naval map. But the British also find a way to link up with their Faroe Islands, which do identify as Scottish, but the Scots don't want any more messes, so they just leave themselves as there. The UK are like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. This is gonna be so impossible, but we need to try. Okay, so here's our naval map, and let me color in the Falkland Islands or the Islas Malvinas, and this is the British Indian Ocean Territory, or the Chagos Archipelago, something like that. This is La Réunion, some French islands, but like, once again, the UK ask the US for help. They're like, US, please help us. This is really hard for us, and we're gonna die. And then the US are like, do I wanna die? I don't. So like, you shouldn't have gotten into this crap. The US would not respond like this, but just for the sake of today, they are. And the Caribbean, I don't know it by heart, I'm really sorry. This is how I believe it is. In blue are the French islands, and in red are the British islands. I hope it's like this, because if it's not, then embarrassment. Now, the British are like, these people think they're so smart. No way. Scotland is ours, and they're not getting any more autonomy. And Scotland are like, oh shoot, the UK is invading us. And they're like, no, we're not invading you, we're taking you back, you're ours. And then Scotland gets cut into two, and two large chunks get back into the UK. And then the UK send their navy towards Northern Ireland to continue the fighting when they see that it's all Irish and they don't want Brits close by, and they don't want any Brits close. They're like, United Kingdom of Great Britain, Ireland, fine, okay, we're going away, but better not get any closer to destroying my dying empire. We're back to square one, except Northern Ireland's gone. The UK are like, let's sign peace. You can have Northern Ireland. And Ireland's like, ah, we want Isle of Man though. They're like, no one's having Isle of Man. They're like, oh yeah, we are. So this happens. The UK lose Isle of Man. They're like, fine, hell of man, goodbye. And so now the situation looks like this. And then Norway are like, you know what? The Faroe Islands are gonna be Norwegian. Let's go, yalla. So thousands of Norwegian troops cross the North Sea towards this area, and they start clashing with the British Navy, eventually doing something like this, and the UK lose access to this territory, and they just withdraw. They're like, fine, oh my gosh, why do you guys want my death? And so Great Britain is alone in this, and we're like, we're happy about this. The Argentinian Navy clash with the British Navy over here, and I mean, they don't clash with it, actually. They start surrounding them until they're like this, and then they start getting deeper, like slither.io, and then the British are like, oh no, we're surrounded, we're dead. And then the Argentinians, they're not here for a low casualty war, they're just here for the territory, so they don't care if Brits die, because the British have been holding on to this land for so long now, and so many times they've been asking for it and trying to fight for it. So here is where we're at, and it starts looking like something like this, and basically starts getting invaded. Yeah, you heard me right. The Argentinian Navy starts pushing in and surrounds the Islas Malvinas, the Falkland Islands. I'll call them the Falklands, even though they're the Malvinas now, but the Argentina's here to claim them back, but you know. And so heaps and heaps of Argentinian troops cross into the Falklands, and the UK are just done for with their colonial empire when France start their cautious move into the Caribbean Sea, because they can't be because it's literally the Caribbean Sea, so you've got to be cautious over here because the Caribbean Sea is complicated. Again, Caribbean Sea, cautious Caribbean Sea. This island cannot be surrounded, so France cannot do this because then it would be illegal. The UN would annoy them, and they cannot link up with the top part because they can't do this because that would be illegal too, and they can't do this, and they can't do this because they don't have troops here, but actually they could do this. So, and also troops from French Guiana start their way into the Caribbean, and here we go. Let's see the fighting happen. French troops literally grab all of this southern part, the southern islands, EEZ. Also, this one over here, the EEZ is done, and it's literally surrounded by French troops. This one too, and this one too, except they don't grab everything because immediately troops cross in, and these places are just done for. They're all going to France. And here's what it looks like. It looks like a dying spider. And then the UN demand, they're like, no, you guys are gonna stop it right here. This is the most you're legally allowed to have, and you can't have more. India now. India are like, we also need to kick the Brits around. It's time for payback, I guess. The British Raj is giving the payback, and they ally up with the Maldives, and they pass deep next to the Maldives until they hit the Chagos Archipelago, also known as the British Indian Ocean Territory, and they start getting stronger around, and they stop the Maldives from suffering with anything, and it starts now. The fighting starts now. Indian naval troops come in through this area, and they literally surround all of the British Indian Ocean Territory, and they start their island hopping campaign. So here is where we're at, and there's one island left to invade, and there you go. India's at its glory with the British Indian Ocean Territory to themselves as well. Let's just make everything prettier, please. If countries want to get to their territory, it's through public waters. So here we are. Now, France are planning the continental invasion of the United Kingdom, also known as just Great Britain now. Troops immediately cross in and capture London. The UK are like, oh heck no, we're dead. And so they cut Wales and Cornwall off from everything. And Welsh independence movement, Wales for independence, rise up, as well as a Cornwall independence movement, and the Scottish movement is back. The rest of England, Liverpool is captured. The rest of England is vaguely invaded by France, and England surrenders. Oops. In the Peace Treaty. Okay, guys, so some oceanic islands that were British became French, okay? And some pointless Caribbean islands that were British became French. India managed to annex the British Indian Ocean Territory to themselves. Argentina annexed the Falkland Islands, and officially they're now the state of the Islas Malvinas of Argentina. In Europe, Norway annexed the Faroe Islands. Ireland gets united under the government of Dublin, although Belfast gets some autonomy. Scotland get their independence from the UK. Isle of Man become Irish. Wales get their independence from the UK. Cornwall get their independence from the UK, and England gets directly annexed into the French Republic. Ooh, okay, well, this would be a really weird scenario, but maybe one day, if France want to continue their aggressivity, they could invade their puppet states of Cornwall, Scotland, and Wales. Even invading Ireland. They could invade Norway again. Not again, I don't know. The Benelux, if they want to create a big empire. As well as like half of Italy, plus Sardinia, Switzerland, Austria, Germany, Czechia, Poland, Kaliningrad, Lithuania, like Sweden, like Denmark, Sweden, Finland. That would be a great French empire. They could also go like, they've done that before. As a French speaker, I want to name these départements français, these French department. This is le département d'Écosse, which is independence. So just Écosse with Gaelic, because Écosse in French means Scotland. Gaelic as their official language, with English, French, and Gaelic as their official languages, as well as Pays de Galles, an independent country as well, a puppet state of the French Republic, with Gaelic, French, and English as its official languages, although Gaelic is really less spoken in there. And then Cornwall, or République Cornélienne, I would call it, with English and French as their official languages. And then all the British counties would be like French departments, and they would give a lot of autonomy to England and manage it. I'm sure they'll do it well. Right, guys? Well, anyways, with these two scenarios, you guys could tell me which one of them is the most realistic if Britain and France went to war, which they wouldn't. They're literally besties in real life, and they fought both world wars together, and yeah, I mean, Russia fought both world wars with these guys, but they don't like Russia. But just to explain, they love each other. They would never hate each other, except in the past. But that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this scenario. I love you all so much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!